So we're going to look at an easier way of printing these things out to the screen. So instead of 0, 0, I've got a nice coordinate. Now, in Java, every object that you create is descended from an object called object. You can look at that in your own time. What I'm asking you to do at the moment is just trust me on this one. And that object has got loads of methods that are already part of this data type point, and one of those methods is called toString. So if we go and have a look online at Java toString, let's take a look at one of these. Let's take a look at this one. Now, the idea of the toString is that whatever the object is, so it returns a string representation of the object. So it's going to take the object and produce a string, not the variables x and y or make them usable as integers, but it's going to look at the object and it's going to return it as a string. But we have to build that string, and to use it, because it already exists in the class object which we inherit from, we have to override it with an @ symbol and the word override, so that we can write our own version for it. So if you want to have a look or read about it, then it's here. Just look for the toString and the documentation that goes with it. But we're going to override it and have our own version of toString. So it would be point.toString or something in that fashion. So let's go back to what we're doing. So how do I do this? So I need to have an override. I need to say that what we're going to do is we're going to take the object's toString and we are going to override it. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is declare our method. Declare our method as public, and the type it's going to return is obviously a string, and we're going to call it toString. Okay, now inside here is everything that I need to do to build the string to make it look like a set of coordinates. So in other words, a bracket, the 0, a comma, the 0, a bracket. So I'm going to build that now. So I'm going to have a sort of temporary string. I'm going to call it S, and I'm going to build that. So how does it go? The first thing we need to do is have the bracket. And then we need to join that together to the x value, okay, that we've got up here. But we do have a problem, because if we're going to join it using the concatenation operator here, we've got to make sure that we also get the string representation of it. Remember that is an object in itself. So we need to call its toString method. So if I do integer dot toString, so I'm calling its toString method, and what I'm going to call there is the getX function to return the value of x. That's going to be turned into a string. That's going to be joined to the bracket. So I need to put getX in there. That's fine. So now I've got to join that with a comma. So if I have the join and put the comma in there, that's that job done. And I need to join that to the y value, and we're going to do exactly the same thing. We need a string, so I need to get the integers toString, because an integer is an object in Java, and get the y value. Okay, so now I've built it. The last thing I need to do is put the closing brackets on. So if I join that to a closing bracket, that is my coordinate displayed as a string. Now I've still got an error message here because the one thing that I haven't done is return that from the call. So oops, all I need to do is type return s, and that's the job done. I've now overridden the object method toString, and this is an object, so x being an any integer is an object, so I've had to get the text value of the integer that I'm looking for and join it to a bracket, a comma, another string version of an integer, and then the close bracket. Seemed a lot, but it's quite useful. So let's go back to our data types, and what we're going to do is we're going to try to print those out. So I will have a look at that in the next lesson or next video. I don't want to run it now just in case something crashes and I have to go back and fix it. So in the next one we'll run it and check that it all works nicely.